Watershed Analysis. In this video, we will be determining the flow direction from our filled DEM, and then we'll be determining the flow accumulation and reclassifying a stream threshold. To do these steps, we need the Spatial Analyst tools, Hydrology, and we're going to select the flow direction. And the flow direction, we're going to use our filled DEM as the input, and we're going to use the name F direction as the output within our geodatabase, and we're going to force all the edge cells outward. When that's done, you'll see the green check that it's successful, and you'll see an image as shown. Now what this is using the D8 algorithm for the flow direction. So given the slope of the landscape, which way is the water flowing? Is it north, south, east, or west, or the subdirections? Southeast, northeast, northwest, southwest. So there's 8 different directions that are shown. So the water is moving in that particular, or would move in that particular direction on that slope for that particular cell or groups of cells. There are other flow direction algorithms, the D-infinity being a common one. For this analysis, we're using the D8. The next step we have to do is the flow accumulation, and we're using our toolbox, flow accumulation, and our input raster is our flow direction. Our output raster in our geodatabase is F-accum, and we accept all the defaults. There's no input weight raster, and our output is float. When it's done, we see the green check that it's successful, and we'll see something similar. Now what this is the flow accumulation. So it's taken every single cell, and it's said, based on the flow direction, saying which cells are spilling into the neighboring cells. And you can see that there are some cells, these faint white lines here, where there's many cells that are spilling into these. And this is where the streams are forming. So there are some cells off here on the edge, for example, that are spilling into 1 or 2. Over here, there's many cells that are spilling into these particular areas where the potential streams will form, or riverlets, or little rills on the landscape. We want to reclassify this process so we're able to determine where those streams or those small little riverlets are forming. To do this reclassify, we use our toolbox, and we use Reclassify, and the reclassify under the reclass heading, and our input is the flow accumulation, and our reclass value is value, and we're going to touch the left click on the classify. We'll leave the method as natural breaks. We're going to select 2 as the classes, and we're going to establish our break at 10,000 and select OK, OK. We're also going to change our values here so that the 0 to 10,000 we're going to put in no data with a capital D for data, and the values we want, we're going to change those to the value 1. Now why do we do that? The cells with very small numbers of neighboring cells spilling into them we don't care about, but those above 10,000 we do care, because that's where the little stream or riverlets are forming. Now why 10,000? That's a number we determined through experiments beforehand. This is another area, a detailed area of hydrological analysis that we're glossing over in this introductory exercise. Normally what you do is that you would run the flow accumulation reclassification several different times to see which would be the best representation of the streams on the landscape. And in our case, we ran it at 5, at 10, at 15, at 20, and we determined that 10,000 was the best for this landscape. If this had been steeper landscape, we might have used different values. If this had been flatter, we might have used different values. So you'll have to experiment with that process to determine your number. We'll give it the output name of D streams, and we'll select OK. We see that it's successfully completed, and now we're going to change this raster layer into a vector layer using the ARC toolbox, Hydrology, Stream to Feature option. We'll be using the flow direction in this Streams to Feature, and we'll also be naming this as Streams to Vector, and we'll be simplifying the polygons. Now what's happening here? We're changing the raster d-streams into a vector layer, and we're establishing its direction within those vector layers, those lines from the flow direction. And we're simplifying this. We'll select OK, and we'll see that we now have streams of where the streams are forming on the landscape, and we'll turn off our flow direction, and you'll get an idea of where the streams are forming. And you'll notice that this seems to match up with some of the imagery, where we see that an area here where a stream had been forming, and some other streams have been forming on the landscape. And we're getting an idea that perhaps our stream threshold of 10,000 was correct. This finishes this video.